I remember the exact moment the fork clattered against the china plate, shattering the fragile piece of that Easter Sunday. My father's voice boomed like thunder over the dining room table. "Get out of my house, Vincent. You're no son of mine." The cherry pie, my grandmother's recipe, the one I'd slaved over for hours, sat untouched, its steam curling up like the accusations that followed, accusations I'd buried for years but could no longer ignore. It was 2008, and I was 22, home from college in Chicago for what I thought would be a normal holiday in our sleepy suburb outside Milwaukee. The air smelled of ham and hyacinths from the centerpiece, and my little sister Ellie was giggling over her plastic eggs filled with jelly beans. But then Aunt Rita, tipsy on her third mimosa, leaned in and whispered, "So, Vincent, any girls catching your eye at that big city school?" Her eyes sparkled with that old-school mischief, the kind that expected a blush and a dodge. I froze, the weight of 1,000 unspoken truths pressing down on my chest. Bobby's face flashed in my mind. His crooked grin when we'd stolen kisses behind the lecture hall. The way his calloused hands from bartending felt safe against my skin. We'd been together 6 months, a secret wrapped in late-night texts and weekend getaways to Lake Michigan. But secrets have a way of clawing their way out. "Actually," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, "I'm gay. And I'm happy." The room went still, like someone hit pause on a bad rom-com. Mom's napkin fluttered to the floor. Dad's face turned the color of the overcooked carrots. Ellie, bless her 8-year-old heart, just blinked and said, "What's gay mean?" But it was Dad who exploded first. "This is a joke, right? Some liberal college crap." He slammed his fist, sending water glasses wobbling. Aunt Rita crossed herself, muttering about prayers and possessions. Grandma clutched her pearls, her eyes darting to me like I'd just confessed to arson. I tried to explain how I'd known since high school, how I'd hidden it to keep the peace, how Bobby made me feel seen for the first time. But words bounced off them like rain on a windshield. Dad stood, towering over me in his pressed khakis and Easter tie, the one with little lambs that now seemed mocking. "You've shamed us. All of us. Pack your bag and go. Now." Mom whimpered, "John, please." But she didn't stop him. No one did. I left with nothing but my duffel, the pie server still clutched in my white-knuckled hand like a talisman. The screen door slammed behind me, and the April chill bit into my skin as I walked the 3 miles to the bus station. My phone buzzed. "Bobby, where are you?" Easter brunch was supposed to be fun. I typed back, "Family imploded. Heading your way." By midnight, I was crashing on his lumpy futon in Wicker Park, sobbing into his chest while he stroked my hair and whispered, "You're enough, Vin. You're more than enough." That night marked the end of one life and the ragged start of another. Dad cut me off. No calls, no cards, nothing. Mom sent guilty emails once a month, forwarded recipes like peace offerings, but they always ended with "pray for guidance." Ellie wrote letters in crayon, asking why I couldn't come home for fireworks. I burned them all, or tried to. Guilt has a way of smoldering. Bobby became my anchor. He was 24, a line cook at a dive bar with dreams of owning his own spot someday. His arms were inked with faded tattoos from his Navy days. Anchors and swallows that told stories he only half shared. We'd met in a psych elective, bonding over Freud and bad coffee. He was out and proud, the kind of guy who wore rainbow pins without apology, but he never pushed me to come out. "Your timeline, babe," he'd say, kissing my temple. We scraped by in that shoebox apartment, walls thin enough to hear the neighbors' arguments. I finished my degree in hospitality management online, dodging memories of the culinary arts program I dreamed of. Dad had always said cooking was women's work, but it was my escape. Chopping onions until tears blurred the pain, simmering sauces that filled the air with promise. Bobby taught me knife skills between shifts, his laughter echoing as we danced to Springsteen in the kitchen, flour-dusted and fearless. But fear crept in anyway. My first pride parade, I clutched his hand like a lifeline, half expecting lightning to strike. We marched under a sea of flags, chanting for rights I still felt like an imposter claiming. That night, over takeout lo mein, Bobby proposed, not with a ring, but with a key to his place. "Make it ours," he said. I said yes, and for a while it was. We built a rhythm, him slinging burgers at the bar, me interning at event catering firms, dreaming of a food truck that served Midwestern comfort with a twist. Then came the call that cracked us open. It was 2 years after Easter, a humid July evening in 2010. I was prepping for a wedding gig, tiny quiches sweating under plastic wrap, when my phone lit up with Ellie's number. "Vinny? It's me. Mom's sick. Really sick." Her voice wobbled, 12 now and sounding ancient. "Pancreatitis," they said later, from years of stress-eating dad silences. I booked a flight that night, heart hammering. Bobby drove me to O'Hare, his jaw tight. "You don't owe them shit, Vin." But I did. Or thought I did. Milwaukee hadn't changed. Same split-level ranchers, same Lutheran steeples piercing the sky. Dad met me at the door, gaunt and hollow-eyed. No handshake, just a grunt. "She's asking for you." Mom lay in the guest room they'd converted to a sick ward, tubes snaking from her arms, her once vibrant curls limp against the pillow. "My boy," she whispered, gripping my hand. "Forgive me. I stayed 3 weeks, sleeping on the couch, cooking bland hospital meals that masked my rage." Ellie shadowed me, peppering questions. "Is Bobby your boyfriend? Like in the movies?" I'd nod, throat tight, while Dad lurked in doorways, his disapproval a living thing. One night, after Mom drifted off, he cornered me in the kitchen. "This phase of yours, it's killing her, you know. The shame." I laughed, bitter as burnt toast. "It's not a phase, Dad. It's me. And if you can't handle that, you're the one killing her." He didn't speak to me again, but Mom rallied enough for a goodbye brunch before I left. Pancakes and weak coffee, Ellie chattering about school. As I hugged her frail frame, she slipped a check into my palm. "For your dreams, Vincent. Don't let go. $5,000, enough for a down payment on that food truck we'd sketched on napkins." Back in Chicago, Bobby waited with open arms, but something had shifted. I threw myself into the truck, Vinny's Vittles, serving pierogi mac and cheese and bison sliders at farmers markets. It blew up overnight. Lines snaked around blocks. Food bloggers raved about this soulful fusion. Bobby quit the bar to join me full-time, his tweaks to the menu turning it into magic. We parked outside Boys Town bars on weekends, flirting with customers over free samples, our love a quiet undercurrent in the chaos. But secrets fester. Mine was the check. I'd hidden it, telling Bobby it was a loan from a friend. Pride swelled into paranoia. What if he thought I was using family money? Then, in 2012, the Real bomb dropped. Ellie called again, this time hysterical. "Dad's leaving Mom. Says he can't live with the family curse anymore." Turns out, while I'd been gone, Dad had an affair with Aunt Rita, of all people. The hypocrisy burned hotter than a grease fire. Mom, post-recovery, filed for divorce, and suddenly I was the family mediator, shuttling between coasts as she moved to Florida for a fresh start. Bobby saw the toll. "You're tearing yourself in half for them," he'd say, pulling me close after I'd stare at the ceiling for hours. One fight escalated, me snapping about his easy coming out, him yelling that I treated love like a battlefield. "I chose you, Vin. Every damn day." We made up in the truck's back, rain pattering on the roof, promises whispered like prayers. But the cracks were there. By 2015, Vinny's Vittles had evolved into a brick-and-mortar in Logan Square. Cozy exposed brick, Edison bulbs, a chalkboard menu boasting farm-to-table twists on Wisconsin classics. We catered high-profile gigs, weddings, corporate bashes, even a fundraiser for the Ollie Forney Center. Bobby ran the line like a general, his laugh booming over the sizzle of skillets. Our life felt solid, the kind of American dream rebuilt from scraps. That's when the invitation came. Ellie, now 17 and fierce as a summer storm, was graduating high school. Valedictorian, debate team captain, out and proud herself after a tearful FaceTime confession last year. "I want you there, Vinny. All of you." She meant Bobby too. Mom was flying in from Tampa. Dad and Rita were hosting the after-party at the old house. My stomach nodded. "It's a trap," Bobby said over coffee, his eyes searching mine. "Or it's family." Finally, I went. We went. Driving the familiar highway, windows down, Springsteen crooning about Born to Run glory, I gripped the wheel until my knuckles ached. The ceremony was a blur. Ellie's speech on resilience, her voice cracking on hidden truths, and then the dinner. The house loomed, daffodils nodding in the yard like old ghosts. Dad greeted us at the door, Rita hovering with a forced smile. Vincent. And friend. Bobby extended a hand. Dad shook it like a wet fish. The table groaned under potluck glory, Jell-O salads, deviled eggs, my old cherry pie from Grandma's recipe box. Ellie bubbled with pride. Mom dabbed tears, but tension hummed like a live wire. Midway through the main course, Rita's infamous tuna casserole, Dad cleared his throat. Vincent, a word. He pulled me into the den, the room unchanged since my ejection. Same plaid couch, same crucifix over the mantel. I've been thinking, he said, not meeting my eyes. About that Easter. I was wrong. Scared mostly, but wrong. My heart stuttered. Was this it? Redemption? Then he dropped the bomb. Rita and I, we're starting a foundation. For families like ours. Faith-based counseling. To help kids like you find the right path. Counseling. Conversion therapy, wrapped in holy platitudes. Rage boiled up, hot, and unbidden. You think that's help? Brainwashing people into hating themselves. His face hardened. It's love, son. Tough love. I laughed, the sound jagged. Your love kicked me out. Nearly killed Mom with your lies. Voices rose. The den door flew open. Bobby stormed in, Ellie on his heels. Get your hands off him. Bobby shoved Dad back. Not hard, but enough. Chaos erupted. Rita shrieking about heathens. Mom pleading for calm. Ellie yelling. This is my night. We fled to the backyard. The pie abandoned again, this time in shards on the patio. Under the weeping willow, Bobby held me as I shook. I can't do this anymore, I gasped. Them. Us. It's poison. He cupped my face, thumbs brushing tears. Then let's make our own family. Marry me, Vin. For real. I said yes, right there, with fireflies winking like witnesses. But dawn brought the fallout. Dad filed a restraining order, claiming assault, twisting Bobby's push into a threat. The press got wind. A local blogger spun it into gay chef terrorizes family reunion. Our restaurant tanked overnight. Cancellations flooded in. Yelp reviews turned venomous. Don't support sinners, one read. Bobby spiraled, drowning doubts in whiskey, snapping at suppliers. They win if we break. I'd plead, but the betrayal festered. The climax hit in November 2016, election night. The world unraveled on TVs everywhere. Headlines screaming division, fear. We closed early, the dining room empty save for us and a bottle of bourbon. Bobby paced, his Navy comm shattered. This country's turning on us, Vin. On everything we built. I pulled him down, our foreheads touching. We built it anyway. That's the win. But he confessed then, the secret I'd sensed but ignored. I cheated. Last month. With that supplier from Milwaukee. One night, after your call with Ellie about Dad's apology. I was so mad. For you, for us. Thought it'd numb it. The room spun. Betrayal, sharp as a cleaver. Not Dad's this time, Bobby's. The man who'd pieced me together, now wielding the knife. Why? I choked. Fear, he admitted, eyes hollow. Of losing you to them. Of not being enough. I walked out into the Chicago wind, blocks blurring until I reached the lakefront. Waves crashed like accusations. Hours later, I returned. He was packing. Go, I said, voice steel. Fix yourself. Then maybe. He left for his sisters in Boston. The food truck sold to cover debts. I clawed the restaurant back, solo now, hiring a crew of misfits who became family. Ellie visited for Thanksgiving, her hug fierce. You're my hero, Vinny. Screw them. Mom sent postcards from Florida, therapy notes scribbled in margins, learning to listen. 2 years ground by in solitude's forge. I dated, a barista here, a graphic designer there, but no one stuck. Bobby's ghost lingered in the menu, his tweaks haunting every plate. Then, in 2019, a call from an unlikely source. Dad. Heart attack, he wheezed. Need to see you. Please. I flew home alone, the old house sterile with hospital smells. Rita was gone. Divorce, scandal. Dad lay propped in bed, frail as onion skin. I was wrong about everything, he rasped. The foundation. It hurt people. Shut it down last year. Tears tracked his cheeks. Forgiven, old fool. Ellie squeezed my hand from the doorway. Mom nodded from Florida via video. I didn't. Not fully. But I cooked. In their kitchen, the one that birthed my exile, I made Easter dinner redux. Ham glazed with bourbon, asparagus hollandaise, cherry pie flamed tableside. The family gathered, awkward, tentative. Dad took a bite, eyes widening. This is home. Bobby's touch was in it, unspoken. Word spread. A local paper profiled the prodigal chef's redemption feast. Reservations surged. Vinny's became a beacon, hosting queer youth nights, ally trainings. Bobby texted months later. Saw the article. Proud. Can we talk? We met at the lake. Autumn leaves carpeting the path. He was sober, steadier, a sous chef in Portland now. I get it if you can't, he said. But I could. Forgiveness isn't erasure, it's space. We didn't rush. Dinner's first, tentative touches. By Pride 2021, we marched again, hands linked, Ellie's flag over our shoulders. Dad watched from the sidelines, a quiet nod his olive branch. Mom danced with us under the floats. Life isn't pie in the sky. It's the burnt edges, the shared slices. Today, in 2025, Vinny's Vittles thrives. 2 locations, a cookbook in the works. Bobby runs the original, his tats faded but spirit renewed. We married last summer in a backyard ceremony. Ellie officiating, Mom toasting with mimosas, non-alcoholic for Dad's sake. No one's forgotten that Easter dessert, the kick-out that cracked us open. But we've served meals since, bitter, sweet, unforgettable, that remind us. Love isn't served on china. It's forged in the fire, plated with grace. And damn if it doesn't taste like home. Looking back, that first year after the wedding feels like a fever dream, the kind where joy and jagged edges blur into one. We'd bought a brownstone in Ukrainian village, creaky floors, a kitchen big enough for 2 egos and a lifetime of experiments. Mornings started with Bobby's coffee ritual, grounds measured like gunpowder, steam rising as he murmured forecasts for the day's rush. I'd watch him, shirtless and scarred from old burns, thinking how far we'd clawed from futons and fear. But reconciliation's a slow burn, not a flash in the pan. Dad's apology lingered like over-reduced sauce. Thick, clinging, impossible to skim off. He'd show up unannounced at the restaurant, nursing ginger ale at the bar, eyes tracking me like a hawk eyeing a field mouse. Just checking in, he'd grunt. But his presence was a question. Can we rebuild? Ellie mediated, her college essays now peppered with our story, the cost of conditional love. She'd drag him to family nights, forcing small talk over my bison sliders. Once, he even complimented Bobby. Good sear on that steak. Progress or politeness? I couldn't tell. Mom thrived in Florida, volunteering at a food bank, her emails evolving from recipes to reflections. Therapy's teaching me your truth was never the problem. My silence was. She visited for Christmas, bearing pecan pies and a scrapbook of my childhood Polaroids, the ones Dad had threatened to burn. We flipped pages under twinkling lights, laughter bubbling as she recounted my toddler tantrums over mashed peas. Bobby squeezed my knee under the table, his warmth a reminder. This is ours now. Yet misunderstandings simmered beneath the surface, ready to boil over. In spring 2022, a viral TikTok, Ellie interviewing me about the Easter rejection, exploded. Views hit millions. Comments ranged from heart emojis to hate mail. Fake sob story for clout. Dad saw it at his AA meeting, someone shoving a phone in his face. He called me at 2 a.m., voice slurred with old scotch. You paraded our dirt for likes? After I tried. I explained. Consent. Healing. Ellie's project. But he hung up, radio silence for weeks. Bobby bore the brunt, his patience fraying like apron strings. He's poison, Vin. Cut him out. But family isn't a bad cut of meat you toss. It's marbled with memory. I drove to Milwaukee alone, finding Dad in the garage, tools scattered like shrapnel. It hurt, I said, voice raw, seeing us as dirt. He deflated, shoulders sagging. I was the dirt, son, hiding my own failures, the affair, the anger. Thought faith fixed it. But it's action. We hugged then, awkward as amateurs deboning fish, but real. That thaw brought unexpected guests. Aunt Rita, post-divorce and humbled, seeking amends over coffee. I was scared too, she admitted, stirring sugar like it could sweeten sins. Pushed your dad harder than I should. Forgiveness? Not yet. But I served her pie. Cherry, flaming, and watched her eyes mist. Small victories. Meanwhile, The restaurant hummed with new life. We launched Table Talks, monthly dinners on queer history, Stonewall stories paired with rainbow-layered cakes. A young trans kid, Alex, started as dishwasher, his sketches evolving into menu art. Bobby mentored him, sharing Navy tales of bunk camaraderie turned quiet alliances. Found my first kiss on a carrier, he confessed one night, after Alex came out to the crew. Our home became a haven too. Game nights with staff, where Mario Kart races dissolved into heart-to-hearts. But conflict brewed in subtler pots. Bobby's past infidelity haunted us, not as accusation, but as echo. Nightmares woke me, dreams of him leaving again, the lakefront cold and empty. He'd hold me, whispering, "I'm here." Sober, steady. Therapy helped. Couple sessions in a sunlit office overlooking the loop, unpacking how my family's rejection wired me for abandonment. "You're not your dad," the counselor said. "You're choosing different." Summer 2023 brought the real test. A National Food Festival invite for Vinnie's. Headliners: Baby, our truck parked beside Michelin stars. Prep was frenzy, sourcing heirloom tomatoes from Wisconsin farms, tweaking recipes till dawn. Dad offered to help, driving deliveries, his pickup groaning under crates. "Make amends with sweat," he joked, echoing his old mill worker grit. Bobby bristled at first. Don't need his ghost in our kitchen, but relented when Dad showed up at 5 a.m., sleeves rolled, chopping onions without complaint. The festival was magic. Throngs under white tents, jazz floating on humid air. Our booth drew lines, judges raving about the emotional depth in every bite. But midway through day 2, controversy crashed the party. A rival chef, some blowhard from New York with a podcast empire, cornered me by the grills. "Heard about your family drama. Tragic backstory sells, huh? But real talent? That's earned, not inherited." His sneer dripped privilege. His show had outed unwilling guests for clicks. I fired back, mic'd for the crowd. Talents forged in fire, not silver spoons. Mine started with a pie and a door slam. Cheers erupted, but Bobby saw the shake in my hands later, pulling me into the truck for air. "Proud of you," he murmured, lips brushing my ear. Dad, overhearing from the hatch, nodded. "Damn right." That night, high on adrenaline and cheap wine, we got the call. James Beard's semi-finalist. The industry Bible nodding at our little queer haven from the heartland. Champagne corks popped. Ellie FaceTimed from her dorm, screaming. Even Rita sent flowers. "Knew you had it in you." But joy's fragile. A week later, Dad's cancer diagnosis landed like a gut punch. Prostate, aggressive. The world tilted. Chemo schedules clashed with menu tests. I shuttled between Chicago and Milwaukee, sleeping in hospital vinyl chairs. Bobby held the fort, his texts lifelines. "Kitchen's chaos without you. Come home." Ellie and I tag-teamed care, her with playlists of Dad's oldies, me with broths simmered to soothe. One infusion afternoon, Dad gripped my arm. "Regret the wasted years. Tell Bobby, thanks, for loving you when I couldn't." Tears stung. I nodded, throat full. Betrayal's shadow lifted, replaced by something raw. Humanity, messy and mine. We rallied the crew for a pop-up at the hospital. Comfort food cart, rolling through wards with mac and cheese and morale boosts. Patients lit up, nurses snuck bites. Dad ate a whole bowl, grinning like a kid. Best damn medicine. Fall deepened the bond. Bobby and I renewed vows in a quiet ceremony at the restaurant. Staff as witnesses, Ellie's poem The Ring. "Love isn't unbroken china," she read. "It's the glue that holds the shards." Dad watched via Zoom, Rita at his side as friend now, not foe. Mom danced from Florida, pixels be damned. By 2024, Dad stabilized, remissions whisper, and Vinnie's expanded, a second spot in Milwaukee, bridging worlds. Bobby helmed it, his touches turning pierogi into poetry. We hosted his first family feast, inviting estranged kin from across the spectrum. Tables groaned with stories as much as food, laughter over lumps in gravy, tears in tiramisu. But no arcs without its twist. In early 2025, a letter arrived, anonymous, postmarked Milwaukee. Inside, a photo, me and Bobby at Pride, circled in red, with scrawled venom. "Sinners corrupting the city. Watch your backs." Hate's echo, from some ghost of Dad's old flock. Fear flickered, Bobby installed cameras, I doubled patrols. Ellie traced it to a disgruntled ex-Foundation volunteer, her sleuthing turning detective. We didn't hide. Instead, oppressor, hate fuels our fire. Join us at the table. Donations poured for anti-hate orgs, lines lengthened. Dad, frail but fierce, penned an op-ed, I kicked out my gay son. Now I fight for his world. It went viral. Conversations sparked, bridges built from opinion pages. Tonight, as snow dusts Chicago's shoulders, we close the original Vinnie's with a private dinner. Family all, Mom, Ellie, home from law school. Dad, cancer-free scan. Even Rita. Bobby plates the finale, cherry pie. Individual, hearts latticed in crust. To meals that linger, he toasts, eyes on mine. We eat slow, savoring. Secrets spilled long ago, misunderstandings mulled into wisdom. The hook that yanked me from boy to man. That Easter slam. But the meal they can't forget? This one, ours, unbreakable. If I'd known that pie would etch itself into our legend like a family curse or blessing, I might have chosen brownies instead. But hindsight's a luxury, and in the thick of it, survival's the only recipe that matters. Post-hate letter, 2025 unfolded like a complicated braise. Low and slow, flavors melding under pressure. The threats tapered, cops involved, a restraining order slapped on the sender, but the scar tissue toughened us. Bobby joked about bulletproof menus. I countered with flame-retardant aprons. Laughter as armor, American as apple pie. Or cherry, in our case. The Milwaukee outpost thrived under Bobby's watch, drawing a mix of locals and transplants. Blue-collar guys nursing beers after shifts, rainbow families picnicking in the beer garden we'd planted with Grandma's hyacinths. Dad became a fixture there, not as patriarch, but patron, greeting tables in a faded Vinnie's tea, sharing war stories from the mill. Lost my temper once, nearly lost a finger, he'd say, waggling a scarred thumb. Learned quick, steady hands save lives. Metaphor unintended, but it landed. Ellie clerked summers at the Chicago spot, her law ambitions sharpening on real-world edges. Contract disputes over catering? Better than torts, she'd quip, drafting NDAs for our next cookbook deal. Her influence showed in the Ethics Eats series, dishes tied to moral tales, like forgiveness fondue, a gooey cheddar blend for dipping bridges. Customers lingered, sharing their own exiles, a trans dad reconciling with his Baptist folks, a lesbian couple navigating in-law ice-outs. We listened, refilled wines, let the food facilitate. Mom's visits turned annual rituals, spring cleanings where she'd weed the rooftop herb garden, humming hymns repurposed as queer anthems. Amazing Grace, how sweet the sound. Of you two bickering over basil, she'd tease. Her growth inspired a collaboration. Mom's redemption recipes, a zine of her adapted classics. Low-sodium ham for Dad's ticker, gluten-free crusts for allies with allergies. Sales funded scholarships for culinary kids from fractured homes. Yet depth demands darkness. Bobby's sobriety hit a rough patch that summer. A supplier gala in New York, Old Navy buddies toasting with top-shelf temptations. He came home hollow-eyed, confessing overdone pancakes, slipped. One drink. Felt like drowning. My heart clenched, echoes of his betrayal, but softer now, laced with empathy. We rebuild, I said, echoing Dad's garage epiphany. We dove into intensives. AA meetings in church basements that once would have shunned us, couples hikes along the lake where waves whispered absolution. The decision gnawed hardest. Do we expand nationally, franchising the dream, or root deeper locally? Consultants pushed corporate, Vegas pop-ups, LA brunches, but it smelled of sellout, the kind that dilutes soul for stock shares. Bobby leaned yes. Security for us, for the crew. I leaned no. We're not a chain. We're a chain breaker. Arguments escalated. Kitchen tools slammed like punctuation. Ellie mediated over Zoom. Weigh the heart, not the ledger. Climax brewed at the James Beard Awards, black tie in Chicago's grandest hall. We'd snagged a nominee nod for community impact. Ironic, given our origins. Prep was pageant. Custom tuxes, bobbies with subtle rainbow cufflinks. A private chef table for family. Dad, dapper in borrowed suit, fidgeted like a prom date. Never thought I'd be here, he muttered. Rita, +1 squeezed his arm. Deserve it, John. The night sparkled. Speeches on innovation, toast to trailblazers. When they called our category, my pulse thrummed. For fostering tables of understanding. The envelope tore. Our name rang out. Applause crashed. Bobby crushed me in a hug, whispering, "We did it." On stage, mic in hand, I scanned faces. Ellie's whoop, Mom's tears, Dad's nod, proud, unreserved. But the real hook twisted post-ceremony, at the after-party in a swanky rooftop lounge. Champagne flowed. Schmoozers circled like sharks. A venture capitalist cornered us. Slick suit, silicon promises, franchise now, or regret. Bobby's eyes lit, visions of empires. I demurred, but he pressed later, in our hotel suite overlooking the glittering loop. "This is our shot, Vin. Legacy. Legacy's not logos on every corner." I countered, voice cracking. "It's the kid who finds home in our dining room, not a drive-thru." The fight fractured, him storming to the balcony, me pacing velvet carpets. Minutes stretched, then a knock. Ellie, breathless. Dad collapsed. Ambulance. Chaos. Sirens wailing through neon streets. ER fluorescents buzzing like angry bees. Stress-induced angina, Doc said, heart protesting the night's highs. We gathered in the waiting room, family fused by fluorescent fear. Rita prayed quietly. Mom held Ellie's hand. Bobby and I sat shoulder to shoulder, his fingers lacing mine. "If he goes now." Bobby trailed. Without knowing we chose him too. Dad stabilized by dawn, monitors beeping steady. In his room, tubes and all, he beckoned us. Heard about the win. Proud. Then, to Bobby. "You too." Gave my boy roots when I yanked him. Bobby choked up. I translated the unsaid. Forgiveness, full circle. That scare crystallized our choice. No franchise. Instead, a foundation, table grace, funding community kitchens for LGBTQ+ youth, modeled on our pop-ups. Dad became board chair, his mill stories inspiring grants. From kick-out to comeback, he titled his first pitch. Rita handled PR, her gossip network turned goodwill machine. Fall brought healing harvests. We harvested rooftop tomatoes for a gratitude gala, fundraiser feast under harvest moon, strings of lights swaying. Alex, now head pastry, unveiled a cherry pie tower, layers of crust and cream, symbolizing strata of struggle and sweetness. Toasts flowed, Ellie's on sisterhood, Mom's on maternal mending, Dad's gravelly to second chances. Bobby and I stole moments amid the mingle, dancing slow to a jazz quartet, his breath warm on my neck. "Chose right," he murmured. "You this life." Later, under stars, we renewed again, not vows, but visions, adopting, maybe, a kid from the system, plating family from scratch. Winter whispered warnings, though. A blizzard buried Milwaukee, stranding Dad during a solo drive to our spot. I dug him out, shovel in hand, cursing drifts, our breaths fogging in tandem. Stubborn as ever, I laughed. He clapped my back, runs in the family. That night, over rescue ramen, he shared the unshared. His own hidden youth, a crush on a high school buddy, buried under Bible study and bravado. Thought it made me monster. See now? Just man. Revelation rippled. Ellie documented it for her thesis, Generational Gay Ghosts, interviewing us all. Tapes captured tears, truths. Rita's closeted by curiosities, Mom's unspoken allies in church choir. We aired a podcast version, voices raw over recipe interludes. Listeners flooded inboxes. Your story's mine, remixed. By spring 2025's end, Table Grace broke ground on its first kitchen, a converted warehouse in Boys Town. Murals by Alex depicting tables eternal. Groundbreaking, shovels and soil, Dad's grip firm beside Bobby's. From dessert to destiny, he quipped. Press snapped, heart swelled. Yet the deepest cut healed slowest, my own. Therapy unearthed the boy still flinching from slammed doors, the chef seasoning with salt of self-doubt. Bobby held space, his steadiness my Sue. One anniversary, he gifted a custom knife, engraved slice through, for carving away old wounds. Now, as summer simmers, we planned Ellie's wedding. Her fiancé, a poet with ink-stained fingers. Venue, our rooftop, menu, fusion of herbs and heart. Dad'll walk her, if strength holds. Mom will bake the cake. Bobby and I, best men, toasting toasts we've earned. The meal they'll never forget? Not just pie. It's every plate since, served with scars, savored with soul. American as us, resilient, ridiculous, redeemed. Redemption's not a straight line on a tasting menu. It's the off-script surprise, the spice that bites back before it blooms. As 2025 crested into its dog days, our world felt plated just so. Vinny's a beacon, table grace sprouting shoots, family a fragile filigree of forgiveness. But life's no scripted feast. It serves curveballs with the confidence of a line cook on coke. Ours arrived via certified mail, innocuous envelopes slicing open to reveal a lawsuit from the hate letter sender, now claiming defamation. Your podcast twisted my words. It accused, demanding hush money to bury his bigotry. Rage simmered first. How dare he weaponize remorse? But cooler heads prevailed. Ellie's law prof hooked us with a pro bono shark, a queer litigator who'd cut teeth on marriage equality battles. Depositions dragged, his side spinning victimhood, ours countering with timestamps and therapy notes. Bobby paced during waits, muttering about countersuits. Turn his hate into our headline. Dad, surprisingly, mediated, fight smart, not sore. I've got bridges left to burn. The trial loomed in September, a circus in Cook County's marbled halls. Opening arguments, his lawyer painting us as vindictive elites preying on the faithful. Ours, accountability's not assault. It's appetizer to justice. Witnesses paraded, Alex on the letter's terror, Ellie on generational gaslighting, Mom's quiet testimony on silence's cost. I lost years with my son to fear. Won't lose more to fiction. Bobby took the stand last, his navy poise cracking only once. Love built this life, his mine. Threats tried to torch it. We rose instead. Jurors nodded. I held breath in the gallery, Dad's hand, calloused, steady, on mine. Verdict, our favor, sanctions on him. Cheers echoed softly. Outside, paparazzi flashed like faulty kitchen lights. But victory's aftertaste soured quick. Dad's remission reversed. Mets to the lungs, Doc said gravely. Months, maybe, he confided post-scan, voice a rasp. The news hollowed us. Ellie's wedding plans paused, Mom flying impermanent. We converted the Milwaukee brownstone's attic to hospice, sunlit, overlooking the garden where hyacinths bowed heavy. Caregiving carved new contours. I cooked daily, purees at first, then heartier as appetite flickered. Cheese soufflés for whimsy, bone broths for ballast. Bobby tag-teamed, his gentle hands a contrast to the chef's knife edge. Remember that Easter pie? Dad wheezed one afternoon, oxygen mask dangling. Thought I'd choke on pride. Now, grateful for every bite since. Ellie curated memory meals, themed dinners from photo prompts. 70s fondue for his courtship with Mom, 90s Jell-O for Ellie's births. Rita contributed, her tuna casserole redeemed with fresh twists. Laughter laced the air, undercut by the clock's tick. One night, as stars pricked the dusk, Dad pulled me aside. Big ask, son. Be my executor, not just will. Life. I nodded, tears hot. Already am. He pressed a box into my palm. The old Easter tie, lambs faded, alongside a letter. For when I'm gone. Read with Bobby. Inside, later, apologies etched in shaky script, pride for our path, a final recipe, his mother's, for peace pie, a humble apple variant. Ingredients, time, truth, touch. No cherries, too tart for goodbyes. His passing came quiet, October's leaves turning gold outside the window. We gathered post-funeral at the Milwaukee Vinny's. No black ties, just aprons over suits. Menu is favorites, portioned family style. Toasts, Mom's to eternal tables, Ellie's to legacies unlost. Rita's murmured, rest well, old friend. Bobby and I closed, our words entwined. To the man who taught us, late, but loud, that love serves seconds. Grief's a grinder, mincing days into meal prep. Wedding rescheduled for spring, table grace dedication in Dad's name. The lawsuit win funded expansions, kitchens in Milwaukee, Tampa tie-ins with Mom's pantry. Alex designed a memorial mural, a table eternal, figures linking hands across divides. Misunderstandings? The last brewed from mercy. A week after, sorting Dad's mill relics, I found letters, his to that high school crush, unsent, yellowed please. Bobby read them too, eyes softening. He carried this alone. Makes his stumbles. Human. We burned them in the backyard fire pit, ashes to wind, releasing ghosts. Ellie's wedding bloomed in May 2026, rooftop riot of color, poets' vows rhyming resilience. She walked herself, Mom and I flanking. Bobby officiated, voice steady as sea. Reception, our feast, peace pie centerpiece, latticed light. Dances swirled. Mom with Rita, sparks unspoken, Alex twirling staff. Even a video toast from Dad's old camcorder, pre-recorded grin. Dance like no one's judging. Post-vows, Bobby and I slipped away to the lakefront. Full circle, waves lapping like applause. Adopt? He asked, ring glinting from our renewal. I nodded. Paperwork in motion for a foster to adopt, a boy with wide eyes and wary heart. Our table's got room. Years fold now like crepes. Vinny's a dynasty, 3 spots strong. Table Grace a network feeding thousands. Ellie's law firm litigates for love's rights. Mom's zine evolves to blog. We parent Theo, 8, adopted at 5, teaching him roles with rolling pins, outs with open arms. Family's not blood, Bobby tells him over breakfast. It's the sauce that sticks. The meal they couldn't forget? That Easter dessert, catalyst cruel. But we've served symphonies since. Betrayals braised tender, conflicts caramelized sweet, secrets simmered to essence. It's American gospel, flawed, flavorful, forever feeding the fight. In the end, love's the hook that reels us home. 3 words unspoken till savored. Pass the pie, Dad would have said. And we do, every damn time.